In this video, I've invited 9 other artists to draw whatever they want. Then, I ripped the art from their hands and forced the other artists to finish it. So, let's jump into the first piece, starting with me. I'm starting us off with a sketch of Game Show Mother from The Backwards House, a comic that I work on and that you should read. I wanted to draw her more than I already did for the comic because she's gorgeous and I think I could do like a fun pose with her. Which is easier said than done, because I could not for the life of me figure out the hand placement on the photo I was referencing. Like, here's the reference photo, what do you guys think? I do not know. My sketches tend to be pretty loose and I don't want to burden another person with that, so I did another pass. Not too much else to say from here, so I'll hand it over to the next person.
I received this beautiful sketch from Koi and I wanted to follow it as much as possible for the line art. I was so happy to see that they drew none other than Mother. That put more stakes on the line. I really wanted to do her justice with the line art on the amazing art that I received. I try to keep it clean and faithful, and hopefully this makes the next artist's work easier.
For the rendering portion, I got the one and only Koi Specs' sketch that was line arted by my homegirl, Cora Berry. They did Mother from The Backwards House, a comic by Skynix. It's the Game Show Mother, which appeared in Chapter 8. Personally, I really love reading this comic. It's fun and chilling at the same time. It inspires me to make my own comic one day. So I got the privilege to render this piece. I love rendering. It's where you could fix things like a painting if you mess up, since I only use one layer for rendering. Unless I need to use a coloring mode, but then I merge it to the original layer afterwards. I usually render over the line art to an extent. I feel like it loses the line art, so my bad. I struggled with the dress and gloves, but luckily I got the hang of it. I added a lot of lighting and filters, some noise and glare, and it's done. This collab was so fun. Thank you for inviting me, Koi Specs. Until next time.
Hey, I'm Oliver. After hearing about this collab, I was immediately intrigued. This concept is one that I think many artists have thought of, but very few have actually executed. So I want to thank Koi for hosting. For my sketch, I drew one of my OCs named Peter. I was mainly just curious to see how people drew his colors. He doesn't really have a set color palette other than this one version that I did that I'm not planning on keeping. For sketches, I usually just pick a random color and a textured brush and I just go for it. Arguably, I'm pretty excited to see where it all comes out.
I'm not gonna lie, the sketch that I had to do line art for was an absolute breeze. The style was already somewhat similar to mine, and the character itself was pretty simple, and the sketch was already super refined, so I really had no problems with it. The one issue that I had though is that in terms of line art, I always do the default pen in the thinnest lines possible, and the sketch's lines were a little thick and pencil-y, so going in and thinning all those lines out was a little bit difficult, but I think it came out pretty good. I also made sure that the smoke lines in the background were more of a gray color, so that the next person drawing would have a little bit of an easier time incorporating it into the piece, rather than just also having them be thick black lines. Overall, this one was easy peasy, and I'm excited to see how he gets rendered.
For the rendering, I was a bit worried, because I often paint over my line art. Otherwise, my cell shading is kind of boring, because I'm not that good at it yet. I tried my best to do a mix of both, and to keep the line art in the drawing as much as possible. And every time I painted over it too much, I tried to just bring it back a little bit one way or the other. I loved the art I received and I really wanted to do it justice. I was scared because my style of rendering is realistic and I didn't want to take this beautiful art into uncanny valley, but I think I did alright. This was so much fun to do, and thank you all for this amazing art, and thank you Koi for having me for this video.
Heyo, I'm Nova and welcome back to me forcing people to appreciate Zero from Knockout City. I always overcomplicate reference photos, so behold, the 4 horsemen and a hand. I really tried to fit all of this in, but my hand was failing, so I got a new one. And wowzers, zousers, he looks just okay.
Long-time listener. Hey, it's Koi again. I got line art from Frankie, and she gave me this cool mech guy in Ref. I don't know who the character is, so I tried to just go off the reference photo she gave me. I also don't really do robots, so this was a fun change of pace. Since there was no communication, a lot of the process was just me going over the lines and hoping I got it right. It wasn't always clear what I was lining since it was a robot at an angle where a lot of the lines were overlapping. I did not realize until the end that these outer lines were a portal that the robot was coming out of, so I readjusted the lines. I hope the other person can figure out it's a portal, but it's not my problem anymore. And here's the finished line art. Now on to the final person.
Alright, I'm in the home stretch now. It's my last character that I have to do. All I have to do is render them. Is that a robot? Hey guys, I'm gonna be so honest. I don't know how to draw robots, like at all. And I wasn't really sure how to even go about rendering them, if I'm being honest. So I kind of just looked at it for a little while and tried to collect myself and decided that I would just start with the hand and figure it out. And I'm gonna be so honest, once I started working on it, it was actually really easy. I think I was just a little intimidated by the fact that I had to make a robot, but once I actually started rendering it, I realized I could just render it how I do all of my pieces, and it really was not that hard. What I did for the purple parts is I just added some flats, and then I did a few overlays on top to add shadows. I like to do a lot of cell shading in my work, so that's what I did here too. And as for the glowy mask part, I did a few filters on that. And also, when I was all done, I tried to give it a kind of pixelated blur to make it look interesting. And of course, I had to finish it off by adding sparkles everywhere. If it does not have at least one sparkle somewhere, I did not draw it, that is an imposter. But that is all from me. This is my final robot guy. I had so much fun with this collab, and of course, thank you so much to Koispec for hosting.
Hello, I'm Stormith, and for my sketch, I decided to draw a random character I made up on the spot. I thought about doing an OC, but I really wanted the colorist to be able to just sort of pick whatever colors they gravitate to. I feel like color is a big part of an artist's style, and also I think it's just really fun to see how different people would picture different things being colored. Like, I'm sort of picturing this character to have like blonde hair and like blues and pinks perhaps, so I'm really interested to see how the colorist might picture the same character's color schemes, you know what I mean? As for the sketch itself, it's a little bit messy. I'm a very messy sketcher. I try to keep it really loose and then worry about the details when I get to the line art phase. So I hope it's not too messy. I tried to make it a little bit cleaner than my usual for the line artist, but there's definitely some unnecessary lines here. I hope that they're decipherable. I'm not positive. I'm so sorry to whoever's doing the line art. But yeah, I try to keep it loose. I had a lot of fun with the flowy hair. That's something I always really enjoy doing. It's quite long, which I don't normally do. And then I decided to make this a sort of medieval fantasy type character because that's one of my favorite genres and the type of characters I really enjoy drawing. So yeah, there's my sketch.
Hey, it's me again. After receiving Storm's sketch, I was definitely challenged for what to do. Storm and I's styles are rather different. I love to add details, whether it be random cheek lines, hatching, and a textured brush. And usually a lot of it is irrelevant to the sketch that I originally have. And one of the most noticeable differences in my line art is the eyes. Personally, I don't draw the irises when doing my line art. That's just due to my rendering style, but I had to include them just so that the next person knows where and that the character does in fact have them. Line art is a process that I really need to be in the mood for to enjoy. As I reach a flow state, there's like no stopping me, but if I'm not in the flow state, it's very rough. This is a very fun challenge for the more unique part of my process.
Alright, the rendering. I got this piece sketched by Storm and lined by Oliver. There wasn't a ref, so I got to choose the colors. They were giving a royal but fierce vibe, so I went with reds, browns, and yellows for a more analogous color scheme. I described my general shading style as cell shading, which means solid shading and lighting that doesn't use much blending. Following Oliver's line art was fun, and it was satisfying to block out the shapes I wanted for the shadows and highlights. And here's the final piece. I really like how it came out. Respect them or they will stab you with their sword.
Hey, I'm Kiflin, and my sketch is of Himiko Toga, and I thought that'd be really fun, because what's better than to give people a character and see if they recognize them, and if they draw them right.
Hey, I'm Nov. Wait, hey, do you know how I can get out of here? Oh, sure? This line art was pretty quick and simple. I drew the smooth lines over the not smooth lines, and it looks good enough. I don't know, dude. What do you want from me?
The last thing I did for this video was coloring and rendering Kifwin and Nova's piece. When I received this, I was rather nervous. About 99% of these, both amazing art styles, are way outside of my usual thing, that I thought when rendering it would look unnatural, and I think it did come out slightly as such. I was getting blue vibes for this drawing, so I used blue underlayers to make all the colors unanimous. I love rendering over top of my drawings. In my earlier digital drawing days, I used so many layers, and now I usually just have my underpaint layer, skin, blush, a multiplier layer for the skin, hair gradient, clothes, and other things, and then over top of my lines I have a rendering layer. So that's 8 layers for just coloring. And I think many artists also really prefer the rendering portion of the art process, because I think it just brings all the whole piece together and it's very satisfying to do, at least that's in my opinion. So despite the fact that this piece is so out of my usual comfort zone, I do really love it a lot.
Hello, I go by Nerdy. I'm a freelance artist who sometimes makes YouTube videos about my art and interests. I describe my personal style as bright and colorful, with an emphasis on character expression and fun fashion. I decided to zero in on this with my sketch by drawing a jellyfish-inspired monster girl that I designed on the fly in my sketchbook. I thought it would be really fun to keep the shapes ambiguous and the colors up in the air so the artist after me could have fun bringing her to life. A huge thanks to Koi for inviting me to this challenge. Now let's see what the next person does with my art.
So I'm doing the line art for this. It's a beautiful sketch. I was a little bit intimidated when I first saw it because there's a lot of little details and that is not something I usually do. But I was excited to give it a go. My line art style is not the neatest in the world. I try to keep it really neat. I'm told I have neat line art, but I know that when you zoom in, it's not neat. So you're probably gonna see that be the case, where it looks neat from afar and then you get in there and it's there's a few moments here and there, you know? I also use pressure opacity, so I feel like I can make more mistakes that way. Line art is my least favorite part of drawing, so I try to make it as easy on myself as possible. I also feel like pressure opacity really complements my coloring style. So even though I'm not coloring this, I wanted to do line art how I normally do line art, which is very cohesive of my own colors. So we'll see how it looks with someone else's. I'm very excited to see. And I hope the pressure opacity isn't too much trouble for them. Yeah, I felt very lucky that this sketch was really neat to begin with. So I didn't have too much trouble lining it. There was a few moments here and there where I got a little confused, but I think that's just inevitable. Sketches are usually only super comprehensive to the person who actually drew it. So there's bound to be a few mistakes here and there, so sorry. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hey, I can't oh, right. I'm Nova, but I can't find a way out. More for me to do? You're not at all concerned why I'm still here. This letter was very pretty, and I have like the same color schemes for things, so instead, behold my muse. I was listening to Watery Graves and thought it was a cute color scheme. Colored in the hair and such to look like the cap, green skin, and I thought it would be cool if the clothes were the water, being all contrasty, complementing the green skin tone, and contrasting from the dark green hair tendril things. I'm very happy with this one, and it only took me way longer than the deadline.
Hi Quiz Channel, I'm Rose and I do the drawings. When I was first starting this, I thought coming up with a sketch would be the easiest part of this whole collab. It's just lines and stuff, and while it certainly wasn't the hardest, I had a harder time deciding what to draw than whenever I'm drawing for myself. In the end, I decided to draw Willow and Rue, two of my magical girlies I swear I will make a video on soon. Just holding magnifying glasses and goofing around. We are detectives and we will solve your murder case. That's not lore, by the way, I just made that up. Speaking of detectives actually, I only realized a couple weeks after I drew it that it looks eerily similar to this drawing I drew 3 years ago. I never drew these characters again because I didn't like how it looked, and also they were hard to draw. But I think they actually were supposed to be detectives. Funny how that works. Might revisit them sometime. Anyway, hope the next person has fun.
I was given this lovely sketch done by Rose Does Drawings, and because we both have very cartoony styles, that makes my job of doing line art pretty easy. So, the problem is, I kinda didn't record a speed paint. But I will break down my process just a little bit. I always use thick, heavy black lines and a big old thick outline on the outside because I think it looks really neat. And I think it works perfectly well for Rose's sketch.
Hello, I'm doing the colors for this one. This art style is so completely different to my normal art style, so I was a little scared to color it. My rendering style tends to be a bit more more detailed, which I don't think necessarily goes well with super cartoony art, but I really tried to make it work. This is really cute, so I was a little nervous that my coloring wouldn't match it, but I think it turned out all right. I had a nice little color guide that I followed. I had a bit of trouble with the eyelids, because the one character is supposed to have purple eyelids, but the eyelids were also part of the line art, so I had to color the line art, and it was a bit tricky for me, but I managed it. Which is another really interesting thing about this challenge, is that different artists will have different systems of the way they go about their line art. So having to like work around one person's line art style that contradicts the way I color was really interesting to navigate. And I'm sure whoever does my line art is gonna have similar problems. Everyone has like a very consistent workflow that blends in with each step that you're not gonna get when it's all split up like this. I think that's really interesting to see and to observe. I also decided to add a bit of lighting. Rendering and coloring is my favorite part, so I really wanted to go ham for this. So I added some like rim lighting kind of, and I always do little hair strands as part of my rendering phase. So I hope that's okay that I added that. It wasn't actually part of the line art, but that's my coloring phase. So I hope that that's okay. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this overall. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Sai. For my sketch, I decided to do my OC Gene. I was debating on doing a fandom character, but decided against it. He has this entity thing on his back, and I thought it'd be cool to draw something with that and make it all edgy and stuff. I normally don't do sketches, so this was really hard for me since I just go straight to the line art. I wanted the sketch to look like a pencil sketch. It worked out well, I guess. Also, so sorry for whoever gets my sketch. This is so messy and detailed, and there's a creepy entity monster thing too to line art, so yeah, my bad.
Hi again, it's Nerdy, and I got Cytrix's OC sketch. What really stood out to me when I saw this drawing was the emotion on the character's face. Usually my line work is very clean and simple, but whenever I'm doing something more creepy or horror-related concepts, I tend to use a textured brush and make the lines scratchy yet still clear. I find this adds to the uncertainty and makes it feel like the art is shaking in fear. Also, I turned their sketch blue! You might have noticed in my sketch video, but I tend to start my drawings in a bright color so that when I do the lines, I can easily picture how the art will look when the sketch below gets deleted. I feel like it really helps make sure my lines are deliberate and intentional, and not just an extension of the sketch. I'm really excited to see what the colorist does to finish off this art.
See, I was given this absolutely gorgeous piece of line art. Oh my lordy, I wanted to sink my teeth into it. And just something about it made it scream out to me bright and bold colors. So that's exactly what I did. Some big old reds, some big old blues, and making it feel real edgy because I thought that was cool.
Hey everyone, it's Corey Berry. I was very happy to join this challenge, so thank you Koi for having me. I was super excited. For this sketch, I honestly had no idea what to do. I usually depend on my rendering to do all the work, but now I needed to make sure I have a sketch that looked good on its own. I really wanted to make something interesting enough for the next person to go off of. So I decided to draw a woman playing the violin a bit like dramatically, maybe on a stage or a roof. I honestly couldn't decide. I used a 3D model for the reference and I exaggerated it a little bit more to add more interest. And this is the finished result. I hope you and the next artist like it.
Hey, it's me again, Rose, who does the drawings. For the line art stage, I was in charge of lining Coraberry's sketch. So, what were my first impressions when being sent this? Ooh, look at that. It's got a violin. It's got a lot of detail I'm not used to drawing as someone with an art style as cartoony as it can get. Now, everyone involved had the option to swap sketches if they really wanted to, and I am also involved, so I also had the option to swap sketches, and I could have, since I knew I'd struggle here, but from my point of view, this is my chance to break out of my comfort zone a little. Might as well get some practice in. So, I did this one. I drew this sketch. Just know I did it for the content. And, the result? If I don't make any self-deprecating jokes, no one can tell I hate what I drew. It's the sort of thing, when you put the two next to each other, I feel like I kind of vacuumed all the detail off, so I might need to do some line art studies. Yeah, I'm seeing line art studies in my future. Right after I went lineless, dude, damn it. I mean, I did try my best, and that's all that matters, I guess, but there were a couple ways to prevent this outcome, I think. Anyway, hope the next person is able to work with this. Speaking of that, how is the next person?
Okay, hi, it's Nerdy one last time. The final drawing I got was Koreberry's sketch lined by Rose Does Drawings. The lines I received were super simple and bold, which is great for me. I tend to use soft cell shading when I color, so I felt really in my comfort zone finishing this one off. I ended up using a contrasting orange and blue color palette to make the character pop. I also added a simple sky background inspired by Koreberry's sketch. I think the final result turned out pretty neat.
Hello everybody, my name is Astar. Recently, I have been super obsessed with these two OCs of mine, Fairy and Nova. So you already know, for the sketch of this collab, I had to draw my girl. For the sketch, I just kind of tried to put her in a cool pose. As for my sketching process, sketching for me can go one of two ways. Either the sketch is so clean that I can just clean it up a little bit and it becomes line art, or the other option. So I definitely tried to make this sketch more of a so clean it could almost be line art type feel. It obviously still has a lot of sketch lines and a lot of scratchiness to it, but hopefully it's clear for whoever's going to be doing line art. With that, my sketch is all done, and I'm so excited to see how she turns out.
So for the line art, I got Stars, also known as Neon Arcade Stars. They did their OC Nova. Oh my god, they're like so cute. So I never do line art with my work. I go straight to rendering when I finish my sketch, but we doing line art for this collab, so here we go. I don't have a specific brush for line art. It's just completely random, depending on my mood. So I just picked a random one I had, also that I kind of liked. For the line art, I did my usual line weight with pen pressure, some cross-hatching here and there, and some additional hairlines and clothes wrinkles. Added some things and moved some things according to the ref sheet, since the sketch either didn't have it or it was very sketchy. Or like on her left arm, the star was placed under the frills instead of on top like it is in the ref sheet. But I managed thanks to the OC rep, so thank you. And yeah, we are done with the line art. On to the next person.
Here comes my favorite part, coloring things in. I was assigned to color in a drawing which was sketched by Neon Arcade Stars and was lined by Ixtrix. I think that's how you pronounce it. Just like the last time I colored someone else's line art for a YouTube collab, I started things off with the grayscale to color method again. I took my time figuring out how I wanted to approach the lighting situation I wanted before deciding on basing it all around this ball of light in her hand. The first thing I noticed here is that the majority of the character is just the color white. In the coloring segment, this must be some kind of cruel joke. It was kind of hard to work with at first, but when I figured out I could just fill it in with one color and go in with a hue layer and put any other color I want on top of it, I was just good to go. It made the whole thing a lot more fun, really, because I could just do whatever. Put it all on top of a solid black background for the pure contrast of it all, and get like this glowing layer as well to make things really well glow. And that is a whole entire illustration right there. Wahoo! This is awesome! Hooray! And I didn't write a script for the ending, so thanks for this.
And that's the end of the video. I'd like to give a huge thank you to everybody who participated. Everybody did so well. I love seeing everyone's pieces come out, and everyone's segments are so well done. Like, what the heck? Thank you. Please check out the artist down below in the description. And also, if you're wondering, you can totally do this with your friends. It doesn't have to be randomly shuffled. You can decide who does like the sketch, line, and render. It's super fun. I'd highly recommend doing it. Also, sorry I've been kind of inactive at college and comic, and I will get back to posting eventually. In the meantime, I have a Discord server if you want to join that. I'm gonna be joining Art Fight, so there's that as well. And I have a comic I've mostly been working on, so please, if you want to, you could read it down in the description. Okay, yeah, that's all for me. Thank you for watching. Bye!